Thanks. Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at this amazing event. My name is Shaahid. I'm the product manager for SentinelOne. And the main focus around this is just to give you a high level overview around what SentinelOne offers. But I think if you see the what you call this, the title, it's around cybersecurity framework as from SentinelOne. And in the title, there was a bit of a snippet which we don't kind of took an extract out of one of the blogs, which spoke about the amount of time that a lot of the cybersecurity professionals spending on menial tasks. All these false positives, or just trying to understand what some of these alerts are and how do they action these alerts. And I think at the end of the day, what you want from a cybersecurity tool, be it any tool that you're looking at your current tools that you're currently using, you want it to protect your specific environment. But by protecting that environment, it needs to ensure that the tasks is as autonomous as possible. So automated remediation and working towards a much cleaner understanding of what's happening within your environment. And I think that's what I want to try and discuss around this point of SentinelOne and what SentinelOne offers at the end of the day. So just a bit of housekeeping. I cannot see any of the chats at the moment. So if there's questions in there, I will tackle that a little later. For now, I'll just run through the slides. And then, yeah, if you've got any questions, just pop into the chat and we'll try and answer that in this particular session, or we'll do a follow-up session at the end of the day. So let's talk about SentinelOne, and what you'll see around SentinelOne being the word one in it. There's trying to work on one platform, but one platform with limitless security at the end of the day. Now, I think I've touched on this earlier, where I've said that every company is facing a number of challenges, but we've narrowed down those challenges to these three, and they can kind of fit, a lot of those other challenges can kind of fit into this particular three boxes, right? In a company, whenever I go and I do a consultancy within the company, what we find is there are a lot of tools. Some of the tools are so overlapping that the other tool is really not needed. So there's a lot of tools and too many siloed tools within the specific customer's environment. With having all those tools comes something else, which is an extreme skill shortage. So you've got all these different tools, and you hire in a SOC analyst or a security engineer to come in to try and help you to mitigate what's happening and understand these alerts. But now they've got to skill themselves up and understand this. And by doing that, what it's doing is now also putting it on a backlog and putting all of those alerts on a backlog. So there's this extreme skill shortage, and we always hear this all the time. And with this whole digital transformation, where people are now working in, remote offices and this hybrid working, offering and multiple tools coming in and working in the cloud, all of this has created and increased the attack surface. So now we've got all of these tools, the extreme skill shortage, and your attack surface expanding, making it so much harder because let's be honest, a threat actor's whole purpose is to break into the company. They don't have numbers to attain to, or forecast calls to get to, or meetings that they've got to get to. Their focus every day, all day, is how do we break into a company? And you don't have one, but you have multiple individuals trying to do that at the end of the day. Now, if you don't agree with me on any of this, or if there's one stuff you want to add to this, more than happy to have an open discussion a little later. So I want to talk about the DNA around SentinelOne and its obviously adoption around why it's currently doing its or why its solution acts in the format that it does. Right back in the day, we had the standard antivirus, that just picked up signatures, but threat actors got more intelligent as we got more onto the internet. It became where there was, it was agent signature list based. So you would pick up the signature, but what if it was around a threat that had no signature. You couldn't pick up or understand the particular signature. And that's when the whole EPP EDR evolution came about. And up until today, the EDR is still around. And what SentinelOne done very uniquely was unified the EPP and EDR and gave active EDR. And the reason they created this active EDR is because we understand that today in our environment, we get a lot of alerts coming into our environment, but how do we act on that particular environment? And from there, what SentinelOne was looking at as how do we make it very simple for the SOC analyst, the security team, to utilize our product, but by utilizing our product, make it simple to understand the environment and protect the environment. And that's where we utilize our AI and machine learning technologies to create autonomous remediation and making the solution work on the back end for you and giving you and freeing up time for you to do more things within your specific environment. So let's talk about that just a little bit more in a nutshell at the end of the day. SentinelOne said, okay, we don't want to have multiple platforms. Let's have a single pane of glass. Everybody always talks about this single pane of glass. So a single platform console, single platform where you can consolidate all of your vendor data coming into the specific environment. And that's based off our XDR, true XDR technologies that we have with open APIs and something that we call marketplace, where we try and integrate with as many tools as possible, pulling in as much of the data as possible that we can understand and contextualize this particular data. And I'll talk about that contextualization in a minute. We talk about time value of money. So, it's fully deployed, protect within days and across your entire estate. In cybersecurity, if you have 100 machines, but you're only protecting 99, that one is exposed. We make sure that with SentinelOne, we are informing you constantly of your current environment, what rogue devices have entered your environment, and what you need to do to protect those particular environment. And that talks to its unified data lake, where it's the only security vendor built on a single unified data platform for all security operations. So whether you are playing on the endpoints, playing in the cloud, or identity at the end of the day. Automation, I think that's a massive thing for SentinelOne. Our main focus is to pull in the data, take that data in, understand that data, and what do we need to do to it? So is it a suspicious threat? Is it a malicious threat? Then we take that suspicious or malicious threat and add a remediation to it. So is it a kill and quarantine or a one-click rollback? And this is all benchmarked up against the MITRE framework. And around that MITRE framework, we're using those particular steps the threat actor is going to take to create that machine learning and that artificial intelligence to make sure that we are giving you more time by doing automatic remediation for you. So working on the background as autonomous as possible so that you have more time to be able to target the things that you need to, but also making it machine fast that we can remediate as quickly as possible. But further from that, not make it complicated. We give you the ease of use at the end of the day. So this is what I want to basically talk about around the whole framework. And when I go to a lot of customers, the most important thing that I am focusing on when I speak to the customers at the end of the day is we ask them, what framework are you currently using, right? So when you want to start your cybersecurity journey, or if you're already in your cybersecurity journey, how do you know where you are in that particular stage? You've obviously got to adhere, or you adhere into a specific framework, whether it be the NIST framework, the ISO framework, or HIPAA, what CIS, or whatever other framework you adhere into. It's just trying to say, how do we go back to the business and speak to the business, from the CFOs to the CEOs, where they are constantly asking, how secure are we, or how protected are we? Because we always say cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. So as cybersecurity professionals, IT managers, CISOs, SOC analysts, security engineers, our main focus is to go back to the business and let them know we are secure or we're not secure. But how do we then translate whether we're secure enough or not sufficiently secured? And it's basically benchmarking ourselves up against a specific framework. And that specific framework that we look at is how do we identify? So, what are we identifying in that environment? Are we identifying a specific asset? Are we identifying a specific vulnerability? The malicious threat in that specific environment? What are we identifying? Once we've identified the specific object, how do we protect it? So, can we talk about our protection environment? What are we utilizing to protect that at the end of the day? And now that we're protecting it, can we detect if there are other anomalies coming into the environment and how are we responding to that? And if we are responding to that, do we have a recovery strategy, a recovery mechanism, and do we have a tool that can talk to that? And that's what SentinelOne will do phenomenally well for you, where it will identify whether it's a vulnerability, identify whether it's a suspicious or malicious threat in your specific environment. Also, identify the type of endpoint that it is. Is it a Windows or Linux machine? Are you running on OOS? So we are trying to identify everything in your specific environment so that we can use the rest of the technology to detect and protect that environment. But how then would we respond to that? So if you're running a Windows machine, at the end of the day, what SentinelOne does phenomenally well is we do something called a one-click rollback. And there's some technicalities behind that and how we do that, and we can have a deeper session around how we do that. But the most important thing is so you know that if the threat actor comes in, they're going to go after specific files, close off and lock off your environment. What SentinelOne will do in your Windows environment is give you an alert, say, we can do a specific rollback. You click on that, it's a one-click rollback, and you go back to your previous state. So in other words, giving you protection, giving you back your files, giving you back your environment, and ensuring that you're up within minutes of being hit by ransomware. And then we talk about that recovery strategy where we talk about we can do threat hunting within your environment. But it also comes back to what framework are you adhering to? And there's many frameworks, but all the frameworks kind of adhere or speak to the same principles. And the principles is around how do I identify, and then do I talk back to the detection and responding, and what am I protecting, and how do I recover that I am protecting in my specific environment? And that's where SentinelOne has benchmarked itself up against the MITRE ATT&CK framework and its use case, and obviously the steps that the threat actor is going to take to understand what are those steps that it's going to take. So it determines those specific threats using machine learning and AI, where we find a solution or find methods that will make that solution much faster and much easier. Through our threat hunting, we assess and we close off those gaps, and you plan your strategy utilizing those threat hunting techniques, which will help us to build your defense. While we're building your defense, we are at the same time continuously monitoring your environment. And then there is that reference as a guide. So we have the references to say, we found a threat and this is how we mitigated it. And now what we can do is know that what we need to look for. At the end of the day, there's a framework that we've got to adhere to. Now, with SentinelOne, it's single agent that sits on your endpoint. And that single agent sitting on your endpoint, what it does is it acts as a SOC. It understands utilizing the MITRE framework to say, if a threat comes into the environment, what is the specific threat? Is it a suspicious or is it a malicious threat, right? And if it's a suspicious threat, what remediation action do I need to assign to that threat? Or if it's a malicious threat, what remediation do I need to do, and who do I need to alert? So there is a chain of individuals that I need to alert as well. And through that, you will have an alert pop up and say, SentinelOne has quarantined a threat or killed a specific threat, and you can go in and understand that threat by utilizing our graphical dashboard to see, here's the threat, this is what the threat's done, and this is where you try to replicate, this is how SentinelOne has killed and quarantined that specific threat. Now, there's a lot of technologies that's out there that does that, right? They utilize in or talk about doing endpoint protection, so the whole EPP and EDR. So what makes SentinelOne so different? I think it is the amount of resources that it utilizes in your specific environment on your CPU resources, but also amount of resource that you need to be able to run SentinelOne. Very minimal, very easy, very lightweight technology at the end of the day, right? My teams that I have, they're managing multiple environments of in excess of 3,000 endpoints. And it's very quick and very simple to understand and check where are those specific threats and do deep visibility hunting. What we also realize is that we kind of, the companies work in silo effects. So we've got our endpoint, we've got our on-prem solution, but now what about our cloud environment? And then from there, what they are about the identity environment. The cloud environment now that's moving and becoming a lot more prevalent in our region. We have specific ways where we protect and look after that specific cloud environment. So the EPP and EDR's solutions and the cloud, nothing new and nothing out of the ordinary, but we are much faster, much quicker, much more lightweight at the end of the day. But what we also found was that the identity part is very lacked in a lot of the other solutions. And earlier, I attended one of the discussions on here, and they were talking about that whole multi-factor authenticator. And if you think about this multi-factor authenticator, it's utilizing your Active Directory credentials to be able to say you are who you are within that specific environment. But this is where the threat actors are targeting, right? If you think about Active Directory, and if you worked in the Active Directory environment, somebody left the company, we pointed that email address to another individual, and they get in that person's email. But after 6 months, there's no emails coming through, but we kind of forgot to close off that environment. The threat actor's focus is to get into that environment, right? So it's going to target your multi-factor authenticators, or it's going to target you via a phishing, a simulated phishing attack, or more phishing attack at the end of the day. And you're going to specifically click on a link. They get into your environment and they lay dormant for months sometimes, right? Because like I said, their job at the end of the day is just to break into your environment. They lay dormant for months. Once they find an account, a dormant account, they elevate themselves to admin privilege. And once they elevate themselves to admin privilege, they have the keys to the kingdom, and they can do whatever it is that they want. They can mimic your CEO, CFO at the end of the day, or close down your specific environment, right? From your Active Directory. And that identity part is so vital and so important. And what SentinelOne does is SentinelOne will do an assessment in your environment, giving you the understanding to say, number one, this is the current threats that you have in your specific environment. Based off that, this is what we found as your usable objects. This is what we found as your users, and these are the users that are dormant that you need to close off, and also these are your most targeted accounts. Further to that, we then put in a protection mechanism which will protect that Active Directory environment. So anybody tries to elevate themselves to admin privilege, we either going to quarantine that individual, kick them out within your specific environment. And all of this happens on a single platform, which is the Singularity platform. Sorry. And we have all of this pulled in from our security data lake to understand what are the threats that's happening out there in the wild, who is being targeted the most, is it a specific industry? And so we can help you to be able to, in your industry, start taking the steps to protect your environment. But what about your other tools that you have? We pull in all of that data from your other tools to understand this data, any suspicious or malicious threat from that data, and how can we action a particular response to that threat. But then we don't stop there. We also offer you a people's element around it where we give you the MDR, our SOC team, which is a follow the sun solution. And our SOC team will be there to be that extra set of eyes to help you to protect your environment. But what if you a customer that's been hit already? SentinelOne would be able to come in and do that in internal incident response and close off your specific environment, help clean out that environment, and then get it back to usability at the end of the day. And I think what's most important around this is SentinelOne thinks about a couple of things. How do we make the data coming in being understood by our platform, act, uh, activating a remediation to it, and giving you freer time? But apart from free time, how do we then also, at the end of the day, ensure that all of your environments are kind of protected? What about the extra tools you have in your environment? How do we protect that? And I think in tomorrow's session, I'll just do a bit of a deep dive onto the technical dashboard so you can have a look and see how SentinelOne takes their platform and utilizes it and make it very simple for it to use at the end of the day. I think that's where I stop. Justin, I see you back.
Yes, thanks a lot, Shaahid. I do appreciate that. I just want to
Sure.
quickly go and open up the Q&A session. I forgot to do that. I'm not sure if there are any questions. But Shaahid, I think there might be some people visiting us in the booth later, or
Sure.
perhaps requesting a chat with you or a follow-up meeting. And we can definitely deal with that. Sorry, I had to jump off to go and quickly do another presentation. So I do apologize for not being here the whole time. But I'm sure that you were very, very diligent in carrying the message across. And thank you once again for your time.
No problem at all. So I think one thing that I did mention, and everybody, I think it's vitally important that we understand this, is that a technology, just like that, app on your cell phone, is only as good as you use it at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And it's so important that our customers see the synergy between us as the vendor and you as a system integrator, because you've got a lot of the skills from and to understand our technology, but understand your customer's environment as well, and how we can utilize our technology to ensure that we position that protection in that specific environment. And that's basically it in a nutshell at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not sure if you spoke about this at all. So I hope I'm not repeating myself in any way or repeating anything from your session. But one thing that we always tell the customers is that if they're currently paying for I term it just an archaic antivirus solution, which is not good enough anymore, as everyone knows, it's just not good enough because it works on a known set of vulnerabilities that are published through a subscription model. But it certainly doesn't detect any form of abnormalities or abnormal behavior, if you will, occurring on that endpoint, and that's what SentinelOne does.
100%.
And also the difference in pricing. If you look at what you're currently paying for your antivirus maintenance each year versus what you're going to pay for SentinelOne, it's almost it's a no-brainer. Because there's not very much of a price difference. So I implore everyone, when it comes time for their renewal, rather divert those funds into something a lot better like SentinelOne, then you're fully protected. You have that assurance and insurance that you're going to be okay. And in the meantime, we're happy to facilitate, a proof of concept, or they can trial it, and test it, etc., and actually draw reports and see what type of value it has to offer.
100%, and I think that you touched on everything that I spoke about in terms of the AI and the machine learning, because that is so vital and so important. Because at the end of the day, what we've got to understand is how do we free up time in your specific environment. So we have created we've got a massive research department that's creating a lot of technology or adding onto the technology to ensure that our AI technology is as detailed as possible. There's a lot of other technology coming out from our stack, which is Purple AI, which I haven't spoke about, and it helps you that if you even if you have a junior SOC in your environment, the SOC engineer, that individual is going to go into the Purple AI and say, I see there's a threat in this environment. What do I need to do? Or search for a threat. And it spits out a number of actions that it needs to take or the next type of questions that you need to do. So it's a learning technology, but it's a technology that will also help your junior engineer to skill up while on the job. Whereas, other technologies, you've got to learn before you get into the technology and then practice from there. So we try our level best to make this as automatic and autonomous as possible.
No, 100%. And as you say, there's various levels to SentinelOne now. It's not just the endpoint protection. The portfolio and the functionality around that from a general cybersecurity perspective is very, very extensive.
100%. And what we like with you guys as a partner is you don't just take on the technology for the sake of it. You diligently looked at it and said, look, we want to look at the technology. What can it offer? What can it do? Okay, we love what it can offer. We love what it can do. It speaks to what we find within the market and our customers that are asking for this. And then how do I skill up my team to be able to support my customers? And that's the type of system integrators that I feel customers should be working with, to say, I'm not just going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you because you're telling me that you want better pricing. At the end of the day, in cybersecurity, better pricing could be at your detriment at some time.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
100%. Brilliant. So, I've got another session that's going to be tomorrow. But what I would suggest with every single customer on here, if you want to know more about it, reach out to Justin and his team. Let us do a deep dive session on SentinelOne. Like we said, we're very happy to run POCs for you so that you can see how it works.
Absolutely. And we're happy to have, customer roundtables and sessions, in partnership where ourselves and yourselves, we've discussed this before, Shaahid, where we can invite a number of customers and we can kind of do just a general work, well, not necessarily a workshop with them, but just a general, have a general meeting and a get together and sort of, explain the value to them sort of in one nice setting. And then of course we can break out individually from there and schedule whatever needs to happen next.
I think in the roundtable, and why I like roundtables so much, what's so important is we never come at a roundtable and say, oh, this is what we do and this is what we offer. It's a matter of what are the challenges? What are the challenges you finding in the environment? And we ask the customers, and it's an open forum. And we're like, this is what we do. Will it fit for you and will it work? That's the type of discussion I want. I want that open discussion and not my technology, I do this, I'm that best, this is what marketing is. No, I want to put my money where my mouth is and be able to say, my technology can do this, it will help you in this, or it cannot. And I'm more than happy to say, I don't do that, but I know a technology that can.
Correct. No, absolutely.
Brilliant. All right, Justin.
Well, thank you so much, Shaahid. Really appreciate it. We'll looking forward to your session tomorrow again, and we'll definitely be in contact with you, and hopefully we can have some more valuable discussions with the customers.
Fantastic. I'll be on your other sessions looking out because there's so much great stuff on this event that you have. So thank you for that, Justin.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be ending the session now. Thank you all, and we'll chat later.
Okay, bye.